Hi and welcome back to the channel. Pleased you could join us today. Well, today's subject, meerkats. Something or a creature that's been made popular on TV. You've seen the adverts. I don't need to say the catchphrase. You know it is. You probably already just said it, didn't you? Yes. Well, I'll try and make this simple. No. I used the catchphrase. I couldn't help myself. Okay. So this was shot over a number of days, and because it took several days to paint it, I don't expect you to sit there and look through hours and hours and hours and hours of me painting. So I've used time lapse, but in places I've actually gone back to real time so you can see some of the detail. But that's just keep the video to a reasonable length of time. This is more of a demonstration painting rather than a step-by-step how-to. Step-by-step will take a lot longer to explain, so this is much more for an entertainment sake, but to show you what you can do. The paints I'm using today are water mixable oils and some acrylics to start with, but again I'm going to do some narration over the top, so you'll maybe hear some of the explanation as I go along. If you like what I'm doing and you want to support the channel, that would be great. All you have to do is just to go down there and just hit the little like button, click on the little bell icon and add me on so that every time I upload a video you get to know about it. Great if you also subscribe to the channel so you can see when new things arrive, and if you think someone else would like to see this, don't forget to share it. Share it on social media, but just let other people know what you're interested in, and hopefully one day you'll pick up a brush or a pencil or anything and start doing art of your own. But let's spin the camera, fill me a cup with some tea, and let's get painting. This is something I often do with my paintings. I will turn my reference photograph and my painting upside down just so I can see the lightest lights and the darkest darks without being sort of too fixed on looking at the shape of the meerkat. So you can see here the brightest of the light areas on the forearm and the shadows around it. So this is a neat little trick to spot the darkest darks and the lightest lights, and you can compare one against the other. And if you let your eyes go between, say, this little patch of light fur on the chest, and then have a look at it on the painting and see if you've got enough depth of colour there. The other thing I pay careful attention to is to get the direction of the fur organised. I've changed brushes now, and I'm using a synthetic brush, and I'm using oils. These are water mixable oils, and I'm using them in a technique called dry brushing. My little bits of oil paint are just set on my paper palette, and I deliberately get them to dry by putting them on the back of the palette so that they got a sort of nice absorbent sort of surface to sit against. And this dries the paint out and takes out some of the oil, and it enables you to smudge. So it's a bit like shading at this stage. I'm using some Payne's grey, and all I'm doing again is I'm just building up the contours of the body. I'm looking again for the darkest darks. I tend to work from dark to light, and then because this is fairly dry, it means you then can over smudge another colour. So you can go from Payne's grey, I've gone to a bit of raw sienna now, and literally you can smudge one colour into another. It's a lovely technique and something which I've been doing for many years now, so it's fun to play. as you can see, I put a bit of a background colour behind my Meerkat, and I wasn't exactly in love with it, but I carried on, and at this stage all I'm doing is I'm just really trying to get my Meerkat to look like it sits on top of its background rather than sunk into it. So I'm just extending out a few of the light furs over the edge of my background. I want to lose that little shadow around the outside edge, and I take great care to make sure my subject looks like it's sitting on top of the background rather than being surrounded by it. So, and you'll see later on I changed my mind about that background colour and have to redo some of the work, but it's okay, it's easy to do. At this stage of my painting, all I'm doing is I'm doing my last checks to make sure I've got the darkest darks and the lightest lights. And when I look at my reference photographs, I'm looking at this area, the area around the tummy, around these lines around the body, the shadow line at the base of the body where this little meerkat is touching the ground. And those are the areas I'm going back over and reviewing. And you can spend hours working on a painting and almost lose sight of some of the more important features like the lightest lights and the darkest darks. So it's good to walk away from your painting, go and have a cup of tea, do that little exercise, turn things upside down and have a look at it from a distance. And that 5 or 6 minutes you spend away from your painting can be worth 2 or 3 hours painting. So my advice is always stand back, give yourself a chance to let your eyes relax, give your painting a chance to breathe, and then come back to it with a fresh pair of eyes and do what I do, get someone else to look at it. My other half, Terry, is very quick to hone in and point out the mistakes that I might have made that I can't see because I'm sitting on top of my painting too long. And she'll walk in and say, that's wrong, or that needs some attention. So if you have someone else, get them to look over it. They'll often pinpoint something you can't see. Well, dawn's broken almost, but my painting isn't, so that's good. I think I'm done. It just needs a little signature. I hope you enjoyed watching me paint this little meerkat and feel inspired to have a go at painting something of your own. And it doesn't have to be something complicated, it can be something quite simple. Just pick a nice little subject, and it doesn't have to be in great detail. Just do something that makes you happy. Happy painting, people.